Testing, testing. All right. I think I'm already live here. I'm not even sure. But if I am live, let me know if you can see this. If you can, dope. Unknown guy, you're pretty brave here, buddy. The what's up, guys? What's up, guys? All right, cool. So I am live. So first off, thank you for being here. I want to let you guys know that I almost debated on not doing this, and what I'm doing today, I'm not going to sit here. First of all, let me be upfront and honest with you. Number one, you guys know I'm not a guru, I'm not a teacher, I'm not anything like that. I'm just here to be real and give you real content and show you the real side of trading. That's it. With that being said, I want to let you know that this is what I do every day, every week, where I like to review trades. I like to review the week and even previous weeks just to see what is changing in the market and see if I can improve on any strategies or if I can pick up on new strategies. And today I'm doing that. And I said, you know what? Why don't I just live stream this? Because this is a side that people really don't show and people may have questions about. So let me let you know, I'm not going to answer a lot of questions because I am doing this live. Like, I'm doing this for myself to get better, right? So I'm going to just be talking out loud, talking about what I'm looking at, what I'm looking for. And I'm going to be going through it over and over and over because I'm actually trying to learn here and improve on another strategy. And you hopefully will see what I do every week and almost every day too. Every day at the end of the day, I do this real quick, but not as in depth as I'm doing today every week, right? There's different processes you do to become a trader and become better. This is one way I track setups and one way that I track my own trades. Oh, my back. And one way that I just track to see what I can see. Of course, I have Google Sheets, which we can do that later, and also Trader View. But this is my bread and butter right now. I love it. So, first off, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And we're going to get that started. All right, here we go. So, this homeboy, unknown guy, he's got a big opinion here. Appreciate it, man. But I don't really care what you think. You can always log right off, my man. Okay, so here we go. Number one, first off, what I'm looking for right now is I'm really trying to figure out what is, one strategy I like to trade is something that's overextended and maybe it's up 100%, 50%, 70%. And you can see here on Evernote, like I'm tracking something that's 100+% right now. And what I'm looking for is these weak opens. So I'm looking at all these weak opens and seeing maybe I can find something unique. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. We'll find out. I'm not really caring too much about the notes here on what I'm writing. Like, these notes at this time are not important to me. What's important to me is this right here. This is what's important to me, the chart. And so I'm very visual. I take pictures of every chart and I want to see, like you can see, these are actual trades. I want to see what I can learn from these charts. And over time, the more I see it, so I'll go over this over and over and over because I want to see it over and over again and then figure out what is my edge here. So here we go. So the first thing is I want to, let's see, I'm just going to start looking. And so I'm looking at these charts. And right now I'm just trying to get familiarized with these weak opens and see if I can see something. Some of these I did trade. You can see I entered here, exited here, but not too focused on that. I mean, what I'm really focused on is how can I improve on this trade. I like overextended gap and craps, but I also know there's better ways to trade them when they open weak like this. And so what I'm looking for is a pattern. I'm looking like, okay, cool. This is open strong, open weak. It spiked, failed, spiked, weak high day break, failed, and another spike. So that may be something I can keep an eye on. You can see here I took a loss, but let's see. This is called Evernote, brother. Daniel, this is called Evernote. So like on this one, we have a weak open spike. And this is right at the open. I mean, a weak open spike and continue to run up with some good volume, trending a little bit. And then when we break trend, it reverses. So that's something to keep aware of. Although the risk reward isn't great here. I mean, it's not too great to me. This is something that happened this week. I missed this play completely, but I just kept track of it and watching it because I noticed that this was the overall, biggest highs that it's ever had in years. It topped out there pre-market and then broke this trend. It's a good opportunity to get in. Week open, I liked for it to spike, and it didn't give me that spike. I was looking for a spike. Actually, I had a short at 13, didn't get it, but I would prefer a spike to 14s. Didn't get that, so I want to figure out when can I short these if I miss this. And right now, it just completely craps out. Look ridiculously weak, right? So that could be a sign too to keep an eye on. If something looks stupid weak, then it may be a good opportunity to use that as its high. And plus, not only that, but there was some major resistance here. These lines, except the red one, the gold and the orange. The orange are the top last two daily resistance on the big picture, and the gold are just daily resistance levels. But like I said, this is like the boring part of trading, but it's also the most important. Another case where we had a weak open and just flushed and had a pretty nice flush. And in the opportunity of shorting this, I personally wouldn't like to short this. But just looking at these over and over and looking for the ones that show me something. Another weak open, high day push. But this time when we had a high day push with volume behind, we just broke right through. So very similar to the other one, but didn't work this time. And some people, and yes, I do track like the stats, but I'm not a big stats guy. I don't care too much about that. I found success doing it this way. I'm visual. Some people don't like all the stats, which I do have Google Sheets. I prefer this. This is my first method. Then I go to that. Week open. I see this pattern here occasionally, so I'm okay with that. I know what I would do next time. But what I don't see is when I open weak like this, where's the opportunity, just in case you miss this. Here we had a weak open, spike, consolidation, couldn't break to the new highs at all after this little spike, and then crapped out. So granted, you could say, short this bounce, short this breakdown, short this spike, but we'll just keep looking at some more before we have a conclusion. Weak open spike with some resistance up ahead, and then just failed. I actually did short that too, but shorter HIHO because it had a failed spike, risking 520 right now with the goal of 3 to cover 3 to 1. It's one of my setups. Look at this one, weak open, but we had a complete spike. I mean, we're talking about a big spike. So just shorting a spike on a week open is not a good idea, right? Just a straight spike to high day, which is what I prefer. I prefer some of the spikes straight up to high day. After I review at least the first batch, I'm going to answer any questions and then go back and review it again. Because right now, remember, right now I'm just looking for big picture. I'm just looking to see, just get my eyes familiar with it, and then I go back, look at it again, see if I notice anything, then go back, look at it again, and see if I can apply what I notice and see if it works, and go back and do it again. It's a long process. Week open, spike, and then fail. So, that tends to happen. Week open, but no spike, right? Just complete flush. So this one, week open, spike, failed. I actually shorted this spike and then got stopped out, barely. But learned a lesson on that, reshorted it and made it back in some. But what's interesting is this is something that's I'm starting to notice. And I think you guys will notice that every time we get these weak opens, that you get the ability to short on a spike, right, at the open. Because I prefer shorting a spike right here, right? When it opens, spikes up. Love shorting, 1040, 1050, and then riding it all the way down. But I'm watching these stocks lately that don't do that, and I want to get better at these. So, week open, right? You missed it. Oh shit! I missed the spike. Didn't spike, but we get a spike. Okay, so we get that spike. And we have volume behind it. We have a pullback with some big volume, right? The first time we had big red volume before this, right? And then we have another spike right above 9, but barely, and then a harsh pullback. So this could have been a great opportunity as well. So keep an eye on that. And the other thing is, you'll see these little markers here, 70 to 100, if you can see that. I like to track different segments. So like these are everything that's a week open, so it's everything. But I have things I track week open with 50 to 70%, 70 to 100, 100 plus, and because then I can start to wean that down. But right now, I'm just looking for week opens. I'm not really too picky right now. And I think everything on here is week open 50 up. So in this case, week open, spike, flush. So you think it might be done, right? You might think, okay, look at all this volume. So if you shorted this pop, if you chased, you're screwed, obviously. This is why you don't chase. But if you shorted this pop, then maybe you could have had a quick stop loss and you'd have been wrong. It just wouldn't have worked this time. And I'm noticing these things, and if you could risk high day, it never got there. But this is high day from the morning. Good trade, but you'll notice that I'm trying to pick up on one thing. And what I'm picking up on right now is the ability, this is actually when I traded, the ability of these weak opens, spike, fell, and then a weaker high day break or a fell up here, shorting that. So that's something that I'm trying to keep an eye on. This one was a little different because we did have a weak high day break. And I didn't short right away, right? I shorted it when we started to break this mini trend, okay? This mini trend. I needed some more further confirmation on this one. And this is only in the past 3 months, by the way. This is only the past 3 months that I've been using this system. Prior, I just used Google Sheets. But I love this system a lot more, so I wanted to share this. So in this way, we have a spike at the week open, and we just have continuous uptrend. Like I can see why I probably would. There was never an opportunity to short this. So just shorting a spike blindly would not work. And I've been noticing that on these last couple of slides that shorting just randomly into a spike is not going to work here. you can see, let's see, this is what happens when you chase. It doesn't work. So weak open, spike, fell. So if you shorted, weak, you would have been wrong here easily. I mean, I definitely see this pattern here. It's very obvious. We have this weak, right? These weak spikes. And then we have consolidation. It's a great example of a bouncing ball analogy. Spike, lower, 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 did. But I'm looking for this opportunity. And I'm not quite sure on this one. This one kind of stumps me. I don't know if there's something that, maybe if I would have shorted here, I would have got stopped out because that's over $2 range. But maybe because there's big volume in the tape. That's the other thing. I wanted to see what the tape looked like. If it was super fast, then maybe I wouldn't have shorted. Seems like these weak flushes, I don't really see opportunity in these at all. The ones that just flush out, maybe if you guys see something here in these charts that just open and just shit the bed and never give us that bounce that we're talking about, let me know. Write it down, because if you see something I don't, I'll look into that and maybe we can find something. But weak open, spike, continuation spike, little trend here. We have big volume right here on this first red candle, right? And this red pullback, biggest red candle. Then we have a weak higher spike, good opportunity to short, or you can short here in this breakdown and you can take some profits on the way down. I'm looking at that. That's definitely something I'm noticing with volume. Volume's important. Volume's a big key for me. This one just looked like it was stuck in a little range here. It wasn't pretty strong for about 30 minutes. I ended up shorting that breakdown, which I normally don't do, but it worked in this case. Spike. VWAP is on here. I don't use VWAP anymore, so I don't really care about VWAP, but I am watching that we have a spike, big volume come in, right, on a pullback, then a spike, lower high. I'm noticing that, and then we have further pullback on volume. So maybe you could short, above $1, and then write it down. And I also notice, and we'll start to pick this up too, why is it failing? It could be failing because there's major resistance here. But right now, I'm keeping it very simple. I don't care about, oh, we're missing this, you're missing that. I'm just looking at one little thing at a time. And then, okay, I'm noticing this, spikes. Let's look at that. And then, what else is happening next? And then review it again. Okay, what else is happening? Okay, what else is happening? And do I find an edge? I think we just looked at this one. If not, it looks very similar. Weak open, spike with volume. Continuing to spike and holding this little trend here until we break that trend. And what happens? The first big red volume bar. You see that? First big red volume bar with volume. Boom. Good opportunity. I like it. Freaking headache right there. But let's see. Spike. First big red volume bar, right? Failed. So you might be shorting here, which probably I did. And continue to go, and you're wrong, right? And then we have this headache where it never really breaks down. So sometimes you're just going to be wrong, and that's the other part of trading. I got to accept that and know that this isn't always going to work. So here's an instance where it does not work. So you miss the open, right? It fails. You're like, crap, we didn't get that spike. And then we get a spike. And we get a spike to high day. And maybe you're risking high day, right? At this point, because it failed so far. But you're not risking, you know, maybe you give it some room. So I could see this one as a short. However, it probably wouldn't have worked because later on you would have got stopped out. So here's another instance where it didn't work. I'm not a scalper. I don't want to short here at 330 and cover right away at 3. That's scalping to me. Some people might not think so, but I think so. I wanted to come down further, 242. So there's another instance where it wouldn't have not worked. So this one actually was a spike. Weak open, but straight up spike. So this case, I would have been shorting, risking that pre-market. It would have been easy. Easy peasy right there. ATHE. And I'm almost done reviewing this right now, guys. We're almost done, and I'll answer some questions. And then we'll go back again and review it with a different perspective after we looked at it once. So now we have a weak open. This one's interesting because the range, I don't like dollar stocks because it's just different, right? It's easy to spike 10%. In this case, we're range between 120, 130, 140, so 20-cent range. We had a spike. These weak spikes, right? With volume rejection, but again, it's not a big range. 10 cents here, which is why I took a loss, right? 10 cents here, which is more important, is waiting for an actual big move. So that's something else to keep an eye on that I'm gonna pay attention to. How big is the spike itself in relation to the price of the stock, plus the volume. So weak open. Maybe I would have got some here at 3, risking off of that, but just in case, weak open, I probably would have missed this one. And I mean, this time I did short the bounce and made it, but I probably would have missed this one. I do like that this, and here's something I'm noticing, like when they do flush, is it flushing under major resistance with volume? Maybe I can use that. So it's another thing I'm starting to notice. And these aren't like, oh my God, big ideas, right? I've noticed these things. I've been trading for a while, but I'm talking out loud so you can see what I'm looking at. And charts change. Like, we go through cycles, and the cycle, this is why these are all recent. Like, and then every week I do this because things start to change within the setup. Very small changes, but you can adjust the way you trade them and you can become better. So here's another one. Failed spike. So if you just flat out risk high day, you would probably would have been wrong here. So like 260, you definitely would have been wrong here. It's a little bit, almost 5% spike above that, so not too bad. And then flush. And look at the open, big volume. So I want a spike. So this one would have been a good short. However, you know, if you're not patient and you're looking for good risk reward, you might have not got it here. But if you held all day, you would have got it. And I can hold all day, so I would have been able to be fine. You know what? A flush, spike. I'm liking those. I'm curious. Yeah, that's interesting. So we broke this consolidation. That's something I'm noticing, so I want to keep an eye on that. Spike with volume rejection on that spike. Great opportunity to short, risking pretty much that high. And you can ride that thing all the way down. So here's another good example. me take a minute and answer any questions real quick because I've been going through this a while. It takes a long time, guys. Yeah, Daniel Flores. Yes, man, 100%. So here's another thing. All of these charts are only charts of week daily candles. So in other words, if you look on the history of these charts, they have weak spikes. They don't hold. So 100% agree with you on that. I do trade first red day sled. Absolutely. I love that setup. Overextended gap up, I think. Yes, this is what that is, Marco. I don't use any chat rooms, brother. Chirag SR. Darius, this is what I'm showing you, man. This is what I track. I don't really trader views where I track specific stats like what's my win percentage, all that bullshit. But like, this is what I track, man. Like, some people try to make it overcomplicated and say like, oh, this setup gives me a 70% win rate. And I'm gonna show you how to do that. And you're gonna be like, oh my God, that's what you do. It's gonna sound stupid, but it helps me, and it's what helped me get consistent. And I'll talk about that in a second. You don't have to make it over confusing, over complicated. A lot of these traders try to show you all these spreadsheets to make it look like, oh my God, it's ridiculously hard, and it's not. So I'll get to you on that, Chris. Chris, we're actually talking about that right now, my man. Hopefully you get your question answered. What's up, DRZ? You think this will lead to people shorting too early? Hey, I mean, maybe it maybe it does. This is why you don't short on weakness. Yes, short time. I agree. It's been very, very favorable to short sellers, especially the ones who don't know how to short sell and they're just shorting anything that's up. Super, super beneficial to them. Ralphie, I trade maybe one a day. That's it, man. And that, because remember, if you look at my charts, I'll show you a couple in a minute. I hold all day, and I'm looking for the all day fade, and I'm making 3R plus. So that's what I'm looking for. Kevin Lynn, I usually trade the long side. Oh, sorry, Ralphie, I forgot to answer your other part. What time frame? I use all time frames, man, and I use every single time frame. No joke. Monthly, weekly, daily, 15, 20, 30, 5, 1 minute, all of them. No joke. Hey Kevin, thanks for your input, man. So you usually trade the long side and typically enter when it breaks the opening range with a stop at the closest higher low. Just the long perspective of these charts. Yeah, I love that, man. Thank you for sharing that, because I think you're right on that. And we'll look at that when we go back, because I bet you that's why we'll see that every time these spike and maybe they break that range and then they break that previous low, maybe we start to see a flush. Good thing to look at. What's up, Perry? What's up, I can't even say your name, brother, but hopefully you get here early next time and you'll know what we're doing here. Just let you know, I'm basically reviewing all of these different charts. I mean, these are actual trades I've taken, and some of them are not, where I hold, and I'm looking to see if I can improve on this strategy. This is the boring part of trading, but it's the real part of trading. It's not the glamorous part, it's the hard work side. But I'm also showing you that I do this every week. So we have a week open, consolidation. This is a beautiful chart. It's probably why I shorted it. It just looks obvious, right? And then we have a flush. Could have held it a lot longer, but I had a good size and got my 3R, so I'm happy with that. But week open, spike, right? Pull back with some good volume. Double bottom, spike. Okay, so this one would have worked as well. Just for the guys who are just now joining, first off, thanks for being here. Let you guys know I'm just reviewing all these different charts that are similar and trying to see what week open, where the opportunity is to short, and show you how I improve on my trading. So week open, we have a spike right at the open, flush with volume, right? And then we have a weak failed high day break. We didn't even break high day. So interesting there. So what I'm thinking about right now is, this is a different week open. Some week opens, we just have a flush, right? Then we have a spike. That's what I like so far. But this one is a spike at the open, but it's weak open, right? We're opening weak. We're not up at the highs. We open strong for a moment and then flush. So that's interesting. It's a little bit different. So it may be a different type of entry. See, these are the ones. So weak flush. I would not be shorting this. And then and this is late in the day, so I wouldn't even care about that. Weak open, spike, and there you go. And it works on this in this time. Although the volume's not as big as the open volume, that's interesting. But it does work. Oh my God, how many are there? Oh my gosh. So you can see here's a trade I recently did. I like to short the spikes, and I cover I hold pretty much the whole day. And, I'm in it, and I'm in it to win it. I'm not in it for a quick scalp. That's just not me. Some people like that. I don't. So here's a weak open, right? Weak open, spike. And you have this resistance here. But I wouldn't just short blindly. I'm looking for some kind of sign, and we have that sign with big weakness on volume. So you can short that spike, and now you have a fader, which there's room to improve, right? I'm shorting on the upswing when I can wait until this weakness come in and then short. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye on. Open, spike, consolidation for a little bit, about 5 minutes here, and then flush. So this is interesting. I didn't trade that. I probably wouldn't have traded this, you guys can see. So I'm not really interested anymore. I'm going to go a little faster because I'm not interested in these that don't spike. This is interesting. Look at that. This one didn't work. Weak open, just spike, but it holds this trend here. You notice that? It's holding that trend. And remember how we looked at that previous chart? Holds that trend, and even though we have some volume here, you can see the volume and rejection, which is probably why I shorted it, right? And what happens? We just break. So I got out and protected myself. And then what happened? This just became a headache. It didn't really fade. It just continued to run. And it's also part of that trend. Just hold that trend. And then if you break that trend here, if you draw a line here, you could have shorted risking high day, but it would have been a headache. And I just would not like to be a part of this. This one's tricky. Failed open, spike. Failed with volume, right? So maybe you risk this high day-ish area. You maybe would have got in or stopped out here. And then it continued. Then you have that fail high day break. So this is a tricky one, and you can tell it's tricky because it fucking, excuse my language, it just faked me out. But overall, I did okay because I got that top tick and wrote it down. But I got to look at this chart and figure out how can I improve here, because this is part of me having to accept, like, sometimes these are not going to work perfectly, and that's a hard pill to swallow because we're looking to get better. But we got to remember, we're not going to find a strategy that works perfect. So this one didn't work, right? And to jump right back in right away is not a good idea, which I didn't do here. I'm proud of. I shorted it, covered the rest on my stop, and then reshort it. So it's good. I like how I handled it. It's a good example. Sometimes they don't work, and it didn't work right here, right before 9:30, and then 30 minutes later. I mean, it was really pretty quickly right after that it worked. So very interesting. Weak open, spike, big volume, bigger than before, right? You see that? I know you guys are seeing this. So maybe it could be a good opportunity to short. And but but it could be wrong. You got to understand these aren't always going to work, but this one, it did work. And the reason why I'm looking at recent, the past couple of months, is because that's what matters right now. That's what's the market sentiment. That's what's happening in the market. And so I like to do this often because, as someone said earlier, the market's been favorable to shorts. So I want to notice that. I've seen it, and now I can review it, and then I can take more advantage of it in the next week until it changes, because it will change. Week open, spike. Oh, bigger volume here on a bigger pullback, right? So you can short that. I can see that. I can see that. So I'm not just saying I'm shorting randomly on spikes. I'm looking for signs. Here's a clear sign, bigger volume. Week open. Spike. And this is more on the side of high day, fake high or weak high day attempt. But a week open, so I could see that. This is a 5-minute though. No, I would have not shorted that. So right now I'm really looking for the ones that spike after a week open. Week open, spike, a big volume. Probably would have shorted it. Maybe I probably would have shorted it, and then maybe would have took some profits. Maybe would have took a loss. I'm not sure. But great short opportunity. Didn't work overall, and then you can re-short, risking higher day. So 2 attempts here. All right, so I'm gonna go back. And now what I'm looking for is, okay, so I'm curious. Yeah, so 50 to 100. So now what I'm looking for is, now the idea in my head is, okay, out of all these charts, I want to only look at the ones that spike, right? After a week open, spike. Those are the only ones I'm going to care about. So I'm going to go a little faster, and I'm looking to see why are they good opportunities short. And then from there, I want to see, is it have to do with pre-market? Is there any other signs? Is it the volume? Is it a trend? Like, where is it, right? I'm looking for other ways to not just say, okay, short the spikes. Because if you just do that, you're going to lose. You're just going to lose. Let's see. Any questions? Chris, you prefer TradingView over STT? TradingView? I don't use TradingView. I think you misunderstood me. TraderView, VUE. That's like to upload your stats. I use Thinkorswim with Dash Trader by Cobra Trading because they're the best broker for me. Also, you know, I partner with them. So if you're looking for a great short broker who you can get cheap borrows, get a discounted rate because you're going through me, let them know I sent you there. Tell them it's Be the Story, Be the Trader, or Alex. And they'll hook you up with a great deal, the same deal I got, lower commissions, everything. So, hey, Dustin, thanks, man. Appreciate it. I'm glad you like the podcast. All right, my man. We're going to remove you, brother, just because I don't care about reading that over and over. You keep repeating it. So how do we do that? Boom. There you go. Rodrigo, bro, do you trail your stop if the stock is going your way and you're getting more than 3R? Good question, brother. So I will answer that question. So I don't. So what I'm doing right now is my goal. You'll see that here's a trade. I don't want to trail my stop anymore because I want to get 3R plus. Now, once I'm over 3R, the only time I adjust my stop, only time. And I'm willing to lose it all. Like, I'm willing for it to go all the way against me and be stopped out. Because I'm looking for consistency so I can get better stats, so I can get a better idea of what's working, what's not. If you keep on being wishy-washy, then it's not going to work. And if you use a trailing stop, use it all the time. Or just don't be, on these I will, on these I don't, because it won't be consistent. So this is what I do. I keep my original stop until the last hour of the day, and then I look at a 30 or 15 minute and look for a key area where I'm like, okay, I'm obviously wrong if this breaks, and then I adjust it there. But more times than not, it's a slight adjustment, And I end up holding it to the end of the day. Like in this case, I held to the end of the day. So now let's do this. Hey, Pyramid. Yeah, thanks, brother. I appreciate that. I'll try my best, man. I'll try my best. So now I want to look at these. This one, I would have shorted this because it's near high day. I'm hoping I would have, but maybe I wouldn't have. Maybe I would have missed it. So now let's look at these. Weak open, spike with rejection on volume. So I can see why I would short that. Obviously, I can obviously see that. I like it. You can also notice there's a resistance level here, right? There's a resistance here. If you draw a line, there's resistance. So that could be another factor. So I'm looking at different factors instead of just that one now. Because now, I'm trying to get a better idea. This one doesn't really count. It's really a spike towards high day. Big rejection. Do we have resistance? Well, we have a breakdown near resistance area. So maybe. That's not too obvious. But I do like that big volume reject. And I'm very curious on which ones it doesn't work on, right? You know what? While we do that, let me count this. Let me count this real quick. Pulling up a notepad real quick. So E-core is 1. You know what? Let me get my journal. E-core is 1. KZIA is another. CNDT. This one did not work, right? We have a weak open spike. But the spike here, the volume isn't that big, right? On this pullback. So that's interesting. And then continuation spike. You see this volume right here? It comes in, this big red candle right here. Boom, pulls back. So this one's been tricky, right? If you use that, let's say it's 443. How big is that spike? It's probably in the 465 area. So like a 5% spike. So you maybe, if you had a wide risk, you might have been able to have a good opportunity here. Maybe you got stopped out, but this is a potential one that could work. Although it would have been choppy. Look at this. Didn't even fade all day. Or you could use this trend. Here's another reason. The trend broke. So I consider this one that could possibly work. How funny though. I ended up losing on this trade. Interesting. Look at the volume. So I definitely see the trade here. This is a new setup I'm tracking. I would have easily traded that. But this setup right here, we just had a failed spike, right? This volume's not that big, but here, look at this volume on this candle compared to this candle. You have some rejection. It's a good time to short. I can see that. And these are daily resistance levels. And this is right before it spiked on a pivot after this big move down. Very interesting there. Probably would have not done this one. It just wouldn't have worked for me. So here's when it wouldn't have worked, right? Bigger volume, so this one didn't work. I'm just trying to keep it real simple. If you're wondering like, hey, this is boring. It is boring. I hate this. I spent 3 hours doing another strategy yesterday, and it was a strategy I'm really good at. I have like a 70% plus win rate on, but like I'm trying to get better at it. I'm trying to continue to grow at it. And that took me a couple hours. And I was like, holy shit. So this one's going to take a while too. I like this one. This one possible it could have worked. Big volume, bigger volume than normal on that rejection, shorting, risking out for the high day, which is probably pretty wide risk. So it's been a tough one. But overall, it did work. Oh, let's go back. Sorry. Let's see. Was there a reason though? We have daily resistance, so it's interesting. This one, daily resistance area, also just tons of resistance, but also support, right? Spike, weak high day. The volume isn't as big, but we did have a huge rejection from that perk. So maybe, 425, that's a wide risk. So maybe would have missed this one, but today I caught it. So it's interesting, right? That daily resistance was important. That's paying attention to that. So we're noticing that not only are we getting spikes with volume rejection, but we're also getting daily resistance areas. So I'm noticing that. And I'm keeping this simple, guys. I don't give a shit about anything else. So this is my way of doing it. This one probably would have not worked. So I'm just going to put this one as not working. Yeah. Big volume. First 2 minutes, not a big deal. Spike. Look at that huge volume rejection. Very interesting. Any resistance? No, but very interesting there. This one would have worked. It would have worked. A major pivot point where we broke down after consolidation after trying to break high day, previous day after hours, consolidation. We had a spike, failed, then consolidation under and breakdown. You see that breakdown? You can't see it here because it's pre-market compared to this volume, but it's a candle right there. Keep an eye on that. Noticing that. Beautiful one here. This is obvious. Look how obvious that candle is. Very obvious compared to the others. Even this candle. So I like this one. This one would have worked too. And it's daily resistance. Look at that line. Remember, gold lines all the way across the chart, completely from the all the way across. I draw those out way before, and these are the daily resistance areas. So I'm keeping an eye on that too. If they're like in the chart, like what was this, Fran? If they're like in the chart, like those are daily. If they're in the chart like this, and it doesn't go completely across, that's just intraday. Like it's not too big of a deal. So this one wouldn't have worked. At least not this instance, right? Spike, big rejection. So if you would have spiked a bounce, if you would have shorted a bounce here maybe, thinking this is a top. Nope. Keeping it simple. Keeping it simple. Excuse me. Freaking drinking coffee here. I need water. I mean, this one did work. I traded it. But I want to see why it worked. This is just intraday, right? Intraday lines. Big volume rejection. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if This one, I mean, may have not worked. Let me just put it's not going to work. Even though it worked today, because this trend is here, I was paying attention to that, but which is why I shorted it. So I'm just going to say it wouldn't have worked, even though it did work. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to look up trends, because that could be a factor, right? So as of right now, we're just looking at the simple, we're just breaking it down one by one. If you're late, what I'm doing is I've just been tracking all these charts of the past couple of months and just basically looking at the ones that open weak after gapping up. And what I'm looking for is, at first I went through all of them, see what I can see. I saw the ones that spiked after a week open. I was interested in those. I might be able to find something. Not saying there is something, but I might. And then I go back and I'm like, all right, what are the ones that did spike? What am I looking for now? Do I notice anything different from between those that do spike at the open, after a week open, sorry. And if I do, write that down. And then, okay, review them all again. What do I notice now? Is there anything different? I'm trying to get different indications that show me, not no freaking indicators like RSI bullshit. Like, to me, I think it's bullshit. But like actual volume, price, technicals. That's what's been around for times and decades and years and centuries. And those are the best traders in the world who've used those. It's for a reason. It's because they work. Go read any actual history book of phenomenal traders, and they don't talk about the RSI, MACD, all that bullshit. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It's just not for me. Some people like it. This one, you know what, guys? I'm going to say it wouldn't have worked. I probably wouldn't have traded it because it's just continuation, right? There's no big volume rejection. Although you could say, you know, it spiked here, big volume rejection. So let's just say it wouldn't have worked. Let's just say that. It's just not a real big move, but let's not be too picky. First time we had big volume rejection is right here. And this one would have worked. It would have. If you would have waited for that big volume, it would have worked. Interesting. Let's just complete crap out. Now, if you just use the volume, right, this would have not worked. Because a weak high day with volume, rejection, short, breakthrough. So this is just those simple ways of looking at it. It wouldn't have worked. But the trend probably would have. We're almost done here, guys, and I'll answer some more questions. Then we'll get to the next. Then I'll narrow it down even more. Here, it would have worked. Super obvious there. And we have major resistance, which that's another factor we'll look at. What am I doing here? Just writing down simple stuff like which one's working, which one's not with tallies. What am I going to look at the next time I go through this to see if I can improve on it? Simple stuff, guys. Yeah, this one would have worked. This one would have not worked. Long term, it would not have worked. That's a different type of play. I need to get rid of, well, it is a weak open, but it's a straight up spike. Just using that simple criteria, this would have not worked. But look at this little trend there. I'm keeping an eye on that. It's also a dollar stock, so. That one would have worked, but that's a very wide risk. Probably been dicey. Excuse me, guys. I gotta go take a leak. Be right back. All right, sorry about that. I had to use the restroom, so let's see. That was a little iffy here. It probably wouldn't have worked. I'm not sure I would have traded it. The volume in the first red candle is huge, but that's the open, so that's understandable. But then this first time it actually rejects after the spike is the biggest red candle, so probably would have worked here, and it's a good indication. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah. This one doesn't show anything that we're looking for, so although it would have worked, this is not the setup, right? This is just a failed and then a spike with no volume. So I'm not even going to put that on here. This one's super obvious. You can tell right away. This one would have worked as well. You can also see a trend here, right? You see that trend, guys. It breaks that trend, it dies. So that's something to remember we're going to keep an eye on. But right now, I'm looking at the simple of the price action. Like it spikes, has this hesitation up here with some big volume rejection. That's interesting. So this one would have worked as well. Oh my God, this is so many of these things, man. Almost, I don't think I'm going to finish this all right now. I might take a break. This one would have worked. It's the biggest volume that came in after the open. It's interesting. This one would have worked as well. I would have not traded that. Not much range, but it would have worked. Oh, this one's super obvious. Look at this big red candle. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. This one would have worked. Lots of resistance here, but this is intraday, not daily. Big volume coming in, spike, but then we get a shove with bigger volume of previous red. Interesting. Clear trend. This one wouldn't have worked if you just played off of what we're talking about, so definitely wouldn't have worked. This is another one that wouldn't, yeah, it wouldn't have worked. Overall, it did work for me, but my first trade didn't work. Look, some profits, took off the rest, shorted the rest, shorted more, covered. So, but the first trade didn't work, which is the one we're tracking. This is nice. Almost done. Holy crap. Oh, this one's super obvious. Look at that big volume after this rejection up here. And what's cool about tallying this up while I'm doing this, it's easy, right? But you get quick stats right away. It's not 100% accurate, but it gives you a better idea. I like that. That would have worked. This one's a little, I'm just going to say I wouldn't have traded it, but I'm going to give me one as it wouldn't have worked just because. This just died out. They didn't really give us a spike at all. So I'm thinking it would have been a no-go. This is a confusing one. Possibly you could have had all your profits right there on this pullback. So I'm going to say it could have worked, but I'm just going to say no just to help the numbers. All right. That's another time we've gone through. And so 5, 10, 15, 20, 20, 10, 15, 20, 25, 26, 5, 10, 13. So 26 plus 13, 39, 26 would have worked, which is 66%. And 13 wouldn't have, right? Which is 33%. That's good. I like that. That's really good. So that's just real quick, right? It's better for me, for my confidence, how I trade, right? And so what I'm seeing is it doesn't always work, which is always going to be the case. But when it does, it gives good. Now the question is, does it give you a good profit range? Let's just say it doesn't even give you 3 to 1. Let's just say it gives you 2 to 1. Well, with a 66%, you're good to go. With a 1 to 1, you're good to go. So this is a good setup to test and try over and over. Now, I still want to go through this again and again, and I want to see, what about the trend lines? Is that a key indication to help me figure out, should I use it or should I not? Is major daily resistance an important part of this type of trade? Is the intraday resistance an important part? All of that's very important, and that's something that I'm going to be doing by going through this again and again. But I've been doing this for already, an hour and 4 minutes? So you can see how long this can take. And I'm going to do this again and for another 2 or 3 more cycles till I feel even more confident about it, and then I'll feel stronger. So let me get back to some questions and then we'll wrap this up. Dustin, what's up, my man? You emailed me about one-on-one coaching. Let us know if you take on new students. He does reply to emails, by the way, guys. Alex is down to earth. Thanks, Dustin. I appreciate that, man. I'm not a teacher. I love helping people. Maybe one day I'll do one-on-one coaching. Obviously, I'll charge you for that because it's a lot of time. This takes a lot of time. I'm married. I make YouTube videos. I have my podcast. I trade. I have 2 contract gigs. I do a lot of shit. So, if you're ever interested in one-on-one coaching, DM me on Twitter, Instagram, and let me know, and don't be cheap, man. I mean, my time's valuable. I'm going to be honest, man. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not a teacher, so I don't care about selling a service. But if you want some help, hit me up and let me know what you're willing to pay for, or we can talk about that. It's not going to be something like $50. That's a waste of my time. But, if I'm willing to help you guys out if I can. How can you limit your risk while trying to short a parabolic move in an over-extended stock? I mean, if this is going over 25 to reaching 30, where are you willing to say I'm wrong? Ayman and Ajmi. Well, first off, I'm not shorting the front side unless I see some kind of weakness. I'm looking for a slowdown on the tape. I'm looking for a major daily resistance level. And if I short, because I think I see that, and it breaks above that, then I'm out. Like, I'm not putting some fake number like, I'm going to give this $5. Like, don't do that, man. Short time. Thanks, man. Appreciate you saying you love this. Hey, Perry, you're right on the money, man. Anything over 60%, I agree. I mean, I'm even saying for over 50%. Prabin Silwakati. What is volume rejection? Volume rejection is this right here. Let me show you. Let's find a good example. So you see, it's on this chart, we have a spike, rejection. It's a wick. You see that big red candle on volume? That's volume rejection. Yeah, DRZ. Yeah. Yeah, you know how long it takes. It takes time. I'm using Evernote. And maybe one day I'll create a template and give away to you guys so you don't have to recreate all this, because it tracks everything. You see the days, you see the gap percentages, you see in the day fails and so forth, lessons, must reads, like it tracks everything. It's super, super awesome. Sometimes I will short pre-market. I can't read your name, brother, but sometimes I do. What's up, AJB? Pyramid, to each his own, man. I think it's bullshit, but it's my own opinion. I'm not saying people who use it are fake or not. I just don't like it. So, you can like it. Right, Scott. What's up, Scotty? Yo, what's up, man? Scott. Yeah, I mean, like Scott said, if they work for you, go for it. Yes, Rodrigo, that's a good way to think. So you're thinking the way you should. Like, you have a thesis and then you go back and you look at it and play it over and over and see if it's working. Yeah, Scott, I told you, man, Evernote, you need to get it. It's so simple. You could track everything. You could put little tags like, major daily breakout, and then you can click on it and it shows you everything. Like this right here, if I click on this is 70 through 100. 100, it means it's everything that gapped up in the past 3 months. It was 100 plus. It's great. Absolutely, Lion. Absolutely. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this. I really appreciate y'all being here. One thing I want to tell you guys, everyone, thank you, man. Thank you a lot. I appreciate everyone being here and being part of the show, listening to the podcast. If you get a chance, please go to the podcast and give it a rating and review, because it helps me grow. It really helps me find new people. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe if you're liking this type of content. Hopefully, maybe it can inspire me to do more of these live ones of showing you what I do, how do I improve. and also have some cool videos coming out where if you don't know, I record my screen when I trade. I do, because it helps. It's like playing a sport and then watching your footage over again. I'm gonna start trying. We'll see. I'm gonna start sharing some of that footage so that way you guys can see what it's actually like to trade, not hindsight. Right? This is hindsight, which I'm being honest. Like, this is how I do things. This is how I review. But when I rewatch my tape, actual footage, it's even better. So hope you guys enjoying this. Please subscribe, comment below, and at the end of the day, thank you so much, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care.